All right, here we are live for the Izotope Rx challenge. Just some fun with the crowdsource. So I haven't heard these before, but there's 4 files. I'm going to denoise them, and I'm going to try to do it quickly and just as effectively as I can quickly. So here we go. First things first, always evaluate, and then I generally go worst first. But let's just listen. So quick listen, you've got bugs, birds, and traffic rumble. And all that traffic rumble, I would probably just get rid of that. And I don't even know if I'd do a denoise. It looks like there's no super clean long section to get a profile of this noise. And given everything is going to be probably above, yeah, I might just do a high pass filter to get rid of this rumble. But for now, let's zoom out and see if there is a section where I can profile the noise. Maybe there. Nope, that's a steady bird. So there's going to be, this one's going to be tough because usually it's nice to get a multiple second of the noise floor. So what you can sometimes do is select multiple sections of the noise floor. So you can get here, you can get here, you can get there, and you can try to do the spectral denoise. That profile might be enough to get a little bit of a pass. Let's get rid of the reduction curve first. I'll deal with that in a second. Go to the defaults, because I was on some pretty extreme settings. And that's not going to get it. So this one's going to be quite an effort because you have a different set of things that you want to isolate between the bugs and the birds. So if someone wants to save the birds and wants to save the bugs, that's going to be quite a process. So I would actually go new from clipboard. And I'd have one where I get just the birds and one where I get just the bugs. So the birds are sitting, both of them have this range of above, there's nothing important below 400. So you could select the whole thing. EQ. Default. And we want that to be a low shelf. Right about there. There's a little bit of a tonality there. A little too much. All right, so first things first, I would do that because that gets rid of the worst, which is the rumble. And now that you've gotten rid of the rumble, you can see a much, much better tonality of everything. There's still some steady tonal stuff here, but I think RX can get rid of that. I might be able to EQ it out. We could check. Because this steady tonal is a very big problem. Now you can use the lasso and sort of just select that remaining noise. Oh, not lasso, sorry, magic wand, and hope that it gets, and it does not. So instead we are actually going to lasso the noise floor, not around the birds. And you can sometimes do this. This sometimes works. You can learn on just that noise. And it's not complete, but you don't necessarily want it to be complete, because look what happens when you do complete. Yeah, that's wildly inaccurate. But you do want to get rid of this whole segment. So this is the noise you do want to get rid of. So you can kind of preview that. Now it's getting some ghosting, but I'm going to go to simple. Now this is getting close in adaptive mode. That's very close. There's also some beeping. Well, this is quite a file you've given, Kai. All right. So this is getting close. Let's put this just the noise. Now we're getting rid of some birds there as well. So adaptive will get rid of some birds and crickets, and we don't want that. So given we don't want the beeps, and given we want the birds, again, I'm going to try to figure out this, see if EQ can do a little bit. Because EQ is a fine way to just get rid of junk that's completely unnecessary. And it appears as though nothing below 1K is relevant. So for these beeps, I'll try that next. But first, let's try a heavier EQ here. Now that's about that tone. Boost to find it, cut it. Hold control to get granular. Okay, now that's very close. Okay, now these beeps, what you can sometimes do is actually highlight them, zoom in on them. I always forget it's this one that you want to zoom in on. That particular, there it is. All right. Alt to zoom in that way, regular zoom that way. So now I have one of the beeps. I'm going to select another one of the beeps. And I'm going to go ahead and lasso it because it's not doing the best of jobs auto getting it. And I'm going to try to find similar, which can do a pretty good job. And it didn't. So, unfortunately, it's not working. Boy, that's a nice one when it works, but it didn't. So for the beeps, you can actually use, again, the denoise in particular circumstances. So let's find this particular thing. We'll learn the profile. We can also multiband gate it. Noise was not captured. And I'm going to get a little bit around it. Learn. Don't complete. And let's see what happens with this. Okay, now we're getting there. So you can hear it's going to start And now we've removed those using the denoise utility. So now I've removed, well, after I select all and process, we're narrowing the band of the spectral denoise and sort of multiband gating or reducing that one particular band. Did I put noise only? That shouldn't look like that. Let's see how that looks. Not as expected. So instead I'm going to actually, what is this at? 1K? It appears to be a steady 1K tone. I'm going to try L Pro MB. Actually, you know what? Now that this has dynamic, let's try this. So I'm going to select a section that has the beeps and just loop it. And preview. Control to narrow the band. Get it exact. Great. Turn the gain down. So this would be a narrow notch. And this is getting rid of it. So now that will only narrow it when it's occurring and not when it's not. So it should be doing very little there. And there is a threshold if we get off auto. So let's try it from here again. All right, so that might do it. Let's see how that looks. Not quite. All right, well, the really painful way to do this, and the best way to do this, and it really stinks, is to go in and actually manually select them all. And since this isn't quite doing what I wanted with that, it's close, but the signal is so low, I'm going to try to magic wand select all of these bands, and that's not working. So I actually have to zoom in, and we'll get right to where that tone is, and we'll select them. And sometimes this is just what needs to be done. Not everything can be auto done. It's fun to try the auto stuff because, geez, you know, it's such a time saver. But to do it well and do it the best possible, you can go through, scroll through the universe, get to the band where the problem is, select all the problems. And they don't have to be perfect because I'm going to do a spectral repair, and the spectral repair will fill in the gaps from around the sounds that you want to replace. And that wasn't so bad, now was it? So I'm going to do spectral repair on these, and this is a cool little trick. I recommend trying all of them using compare and do it quickly with a couple different settings. And this is going to be ridiculous surrounding region. And we just want, we'll try 2D and the strength. We'll lower it. And we'll do a replace, we'll do a pattern, and we'll do a parcels noise. And what you can do is then just preview, see the visual effects of what you've done, and listen. Well, ooh. That's the one. Parcels and noise for the win. Then you just hit process. It'll go through and it will do the best file. You could also go back and tweak and sort of, figure everything out. But one of those algorithms always seems to win, and it seems to be random which one it is. All right. So now you've got your birds and your bugs. And at this point, I might just call it because I could isolate each one. Yeah, there's a clear spectral difference between the two. So what we could do is copy this now to this one that was entitled, now that I've fixed up all the major issues. Delete, paste. So now the major issues are fixed up and clean up. And we could get rid of, the birds and the bugs. So what you could do, oh boy, and this is another, we'll just see how well it works. But occasionally it works. Now the birds don't appear to have any harmonics above this. And this could be our noise where we learn the crickets. And we output only noise with heavy reduction. And now that tone. Well, worst first, and I missed it because I was so focused on the worst that, you go in order. This particular line. Now let's find similar for that. That should, wow. It's not finding it at all. Interesting. Well, then, doesn't have to be done that way. You can zoom in right on that frequency. You can zoom in on that frequency, set this selector, make sure you're really lasered in on it. You could either EQ it down or do spectral repair, which is what I'm going to do because I want the sounds above and below it to affect how it works. So I would do above vertical here and attenuate, but I bet it's going to be pattern or partials that's cooler because it'll use what's above and below, and these crickets are vertical. So let's go ahead and compare, and then we'll do pattern because it's usually pattern and partials and noise. I'll try that too, multi-resolution. And let's take a preview. well, hello, pattern. Pattern it is. And that's not there at all. And it looks like, it's done a good job of filling in those gaps. So you can see the before and the after of what it's using vertically. It's pretty fantastic. We could go back and undo that a touch because it looks a little heavy-handed, And normally going by sound is the right way to go. Actually, I'll just go ahead and leave it. It sounded fine, visually a tad reduced, but hey, it got rid of it. So now we can try to see about that spectral denoise we were testing, which has that peak in it. So I'm going to have to redo that sampling of that area. Don't do that while you can't see it. So you've got all these and you've got all these. They're very similar. So if we learn let's go ahead and get rid of the curve. Right clicking to get rid of each line. I believe there was a way to default this, but I'd have to go to the default profile. There should be a quick reset button. I forget where that is. So now just for fun, I'm going to process this and we'll see how it looks before and after. I wish I had deconstruct, but I only have regular one in this bundle. Now that's pretty close. Let's just see how that goes. Okay, now that's interesting. So we could, I could take this. This could be the one that has where I leave it, and this could be the one where I keep it. Now this should have, good, and this has a noise profile where we can actually get around the birds and then define the bird's noise profile. So we'll learn. And granted, that was extreme. That was for the previous example. Okay, and let's see how this works. Let's put noise only, make sure we're not getting any birds out. And we are. So we lower this, and what I'm going to do is draw the curve around where the birds are, which is mostly $3K. And this will do more extreme around the curve. So the lower it is, the more it's reducing it. So you're like lowering the noise around those points. So what I'm listening for is any birds. I'm not hearing it. I am there. Now we're getting real close. Okay, going back to the other one. Now that's very close. All right, that's real close. So that's darn close. There's one little tonality up there at the top where you can tell the noise is cut off, and I might smooth that over with an EQ. But at this point, yeah, and there's a touch here. You can see where it's. So we'll learn, and we won't do a curve on this one. Now that's going to be about as good as I could get it, about as isolated as I could get these birds. And as far as the bugs go, it's a very similar process. You'd go in, and, well, boy, they're pretty constant, but there'll be moments here in between their chirping where you can get your multiple noise profiles. And that's a little trick. If you can't get a big one single band and they're the same, you can select two, and sometimes it'll bypass that need where it says, yeah, it's too short, and you go, yes, I know it's too short, but now it's not. So if you can't get one long one, try multiple. That works often. Now you do the same thing. Now put the noise. Make sure you're not cutting off any chirps. And I am. Just a touch. Yeah, there we go. If you wanted to get rid of it, I mean, you could just have left that. It's not that bad of a noise in between them. It actually would probably be more natural. But if you're trying to get more isolation, which was what I was focused on just for this moment. So yeah, there you go. And I would save as, we'll call this Bugs RX. Save. And I will save this as, oh, no need to go 32-bit float. 24 bits good. And these would be the Birds RX. So now I've got the files nice and isolated, and I've got the bugs nice and isolated. And to remind of what it was originally, from that all the way to that and that. And there is one more thing in this bugs I'm hearing. But I think it's actually just the bugs. Let me hear that with an EQ plug-in here. Yeah, it was a little piercing there, to be honest. Let's get them back up only when they chirp. Probably too extreme. Yeah, that tonality's killing me. Set these thresholds differently. A little lower. Be more neutral. Might have been a better job for Pro MB, or probably going too aggressive as well. Be subtle with it. Yeah, that's looking better. Oh, looking and sounding better. Control-Alt-S. So that's the bugs and the birds, and how I denoised from the worst to the least offensive and maintained sort of a fairly neutral tonality, splitting the bugs from the birds. Hope that was informative and gave you all some ideas and insights into my workflows, and look forward to seeing what you all do.